Let's talk about cougars. You will never convince me that older men are more mature than younger men. Never. I want to talk about this interview that Sienna Miller just gave because it is so insightful about the moment we're in right now with dating men. For those who are unfortunate enough to be attracted to men and date men. Now, before I get into it, I got this hat just for fun because as some of y'all know, some of you may not know, I went like viral-ish for being a cougar. So I have a lot of thoughts on this. Just for context, I wrote this for Glamour Magazine. I realized that men my own age or even a little older were wanting to date like barely legal women. And that's because of their own misogyny and because they have nothing to offer and because they know that younger women haven't learned yet that most men are trash. So they give them the benefit of the doubt that someone like me won't. And because of purity culture and how it is rooted in not only like white supremacy and misogyny and patriarchy, but like pedophilia. This obsession with young, untouched, pure women. It's a bunch of bullshit and I'm not buying into it. So I was slut shamed by the Daily Mail, writing this article, the Sun, the Star, the Mirror, whatever this is. Anymore. There were at least 17 tabloids around the world that slut shamed me for dating men in their 30s when I was 40. Like, what? In fact, I was even in the Webster's Dictionary as the first example of cougar back in the day. Bucket list item I did not know I would ever be so proud of. So believe me when I tell you, I know firsthand how scared patriarchy men are of women dating younger men. Other than my hobbies videos about men abusing women financially with their hobbies and through, whatever. I got more backlash from those videos and the cougar stuff than any content I have ever done. And that's why I know it's true. That's why I know men are scared. I always know how true something is, like how much it scares men when they lash out at me. So men being selfish and reckless with their hobbies and men being obsessed with dating younger women and so afraid of dying alone because they expect us to be their hospice wives and take care of them. And the thought that younger men are a threat to them. Younger men take away their security in grooming younger women into relationships with them and then becoming their hospice wives, because that's what's going to happen. When you date men that much older, you are going to be his hospice wife. Those two topics make them so mad, y'all. I have not been trolled that hard for any other subjects than men's hobbies and dating younger men. So trust me when I tell you, this is one of the biggest threats to patriarchy, is women not dating older men. Besides the fact that women have way more energy than men. That the guy I dated, one of the guys I dated, he was like, I don't know, eight years younger than me or so. I literally called him grandpa. Because I run circles around this dude. I have yet to meet a man who has as much energy and ambition and drive and is just, every woman I know has more energy than any man I know. In terms of not just energy to go run marathons, but to literally just keep going. Like, it is hard for us to find men who can keep up with us. So it only makes sense that we date younger men. These old men are going to die young because they don't take care of themselves. Some of the younger men may not have as much financial security. I'm not talking about dating bums. I'm not talking about being a man's mother. But I would argue that you're going to more likely to be a man's mother if he's older than you, because a lot of these men are dinosaurs and they refuse to evolve and they refuse to change or think of women in any other way. And so they actually do threaten your financial security more than younger men a lot of times. I'm not saying younger men aren't trash too. So please, most men suck. But in my personal experience, the younger men are way more mature, way more emotionally intelligent, way more self-aware than older men. So I'm going to get into some of the things that there's two articles about this I've gotten into because they make really good points. Before I go into that, I want to be really clear. I am not talking about women grooming men way younger. I believe there's an appropriate age gap When I was 40, I was dating men mostly in their 30s and some who were in their late 20s. But I literally, one guy came over and I was like, you do not look like you are. It was like, I don't know. I think he said he was 27 or something. I literally carded this man because he just looked younger than that. And he literally, I was like, okay. Men don't even do that. Men don't care. There is a line, okay? This is not what I am promoting here. This is not what I'm talking about. Just to be clear. So in Sienna's interview for Vogue, first thing I want to point out, which deserves its own video. This woman is 40 or 41. They are scaring women into having children way younger than we should. So many women are afraid that if you don't have kids by 35, you know what? And then they settle for trash. These men who are not even going to be good parents. Most of the women that I know, because they're like career women and successful women, they actually, almost all of them had kids later in their late 30s or early 40s. So please stop believing all of this propaganda that's very intentional. It scares women into having kids way before they have to so that they settle down and stall their careers and date trash and date down in terms of quality and end up with men who are not even going to be there. So they end up being single moms anyway. Again, this is 41, y'all. I know that we were taught that our 40s is like scary. I'm 46. Best schmegs of my life is in my 40s. Best dating life, best everything. My 40s is literally my best decade yet. Even the hard times are still so much more amazing than any of my 20s or 30s. Please stop being so afraid of your 40s. And as she says in this interview, I'd love to get to the point where I didn't feel like the need to make a joke of being older and having a baby. And gynecologists don't help with this. They call it like geriatric pregnancies. Y'all, you can still, like, fortunately for someone like me who doesn't want kids, I can probably pop out a baby until I'm 50 at this point. I wish I could no longer have children. She talks here about dating younger men. And this in particular, her Ollie or whatever, who she's having this kid with, he's 27. She says she sees a wisdom in him that exceeds the capacities of older people she previously been with. Part of this is how he was raised, but it also is a result of growing up steeped in a different era. She says a lot of her friends are seeing the same thing. Female friends of mine in their 40s, they're meeting younger people who are seeing women as three-dimensional figures. So this is a really great piece in The Guardian that kind of analyzes this interview. I agree with Sienna. I am not convinced that older men are wiser. I think they're actually not as wise. They haven't been brought up to question themselves. They grew up on like Porky's, 16 Candles. And like this author says here, yes, men now have been, we've got the Andrew Taints and the Jordan Peterson and all those inchmells. But that's also nothing new. I grew up with Girls Gone Wild and all of this really sick and twisted stuff. And men my age who are in their 40s now were watching Baywatch and, girl power ended up with like Monica Lewinsky having her entire life ruined because of what the president did. I love what they're talking about right here. The way that we talk about women who date younger men. By the way, my husband is 5.5 years younger than me. So I guess I'm permanently a cougar. Even though 5.5 years is nothing when you're in your 40s. I have a huge criticism of age gaps when you're younger, which is why I'm always going after these 40-something-year-old men should not be dating 19-year-olds. Age gaps that are pretty big. The older you get, the less weird they are. She talks about here how when we talk about women who date younger men, we call them cougars, MILFs. Her desires are minimized and made, into like references like boy toy. And then they also just minimize it so that we're like, these men have nothing to offer. Oh, we only like them because they have more stamina. It's just disgusting. It's dehumanizing to us and it's dehumanizing to men. Yes, the younger generations are growing up on violent porn, all this stuff. But like all of us, younger men are a work in progress. And a lot of younger men are more willing to learn. That has been my experience with younger men. The ones who didn't get sucked into the incel pipeline are more willing to change.